Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. A lot to talk about today. First things first, it is absolutely gorgeous out there. We will see our first 80-degree temperature of the year. I am forecasting today here in Charlotte, right around 80 this afternoon. Could be close to the record high, which is 82, set back in 1918. We already have temperatures at noontime. We're in the mid to upper 70s. In the mountains, temperatures still in the 50s and mostly sunny skies. But it's kind of breezy out there. We've got some pretty stout northeast winds right now cranking in here anywhere from about, I would say, 15 to 25 miles per hour. In fact, let me turn some of that information on. This is where the winds are. You can see them howling right now, kind of out of the southwest, and that's why it's so warm. If you live in the Carolinas any length of time, let me tell you first and foremost, southwest wind is a blowtorch wind for us. We get very hot with a southwest wind, and that's definitely the case today here in the Carolinas. But the concern is tomorrow. What's going to happen tomorrow? Severe weather potential is increasing quite a bit, especially to our west. This is the old cold front you see here, draped across the southern part of the country, and it's stalled, but it's going to start lifting back to the north as a warm front, and that's where we could see some isolated severe weather tomorrow. I'm not totally sold on the Friday threat. More concerned about what could happen Saturday, but with the warm front, there's enough wind shear and energy in the atmosphere, especially in the western Carolinas, that we could see some severe weather. You can see already, let me show you the Storm Prediction Center, has a moderate risk tomorrow to our west, but they have this little bubble of slight risk over the western Carolinas, and that's basically because the warm front's going to be moving right in here, but we've got this big cold front back to the west. When you look at the probabilistic is basically probabilities. That's what we're talking about here. Severe weather threat. This is hail, wind, or tornadoes, everything combined. You can see this big hashed area. That's a significant area. That's plus 50%, maybe even 60% chance of severe weather here across the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. It's a little less here in Charlotte and Western Carolina. It's 15%, but something I'm going to keep a close eye on. So what's going on here? Well, first, let's take a look at the models. This is our RPM model, and we'll put this into motion. You'll see how things start to unfold. Big area of low pressure cranking up here over the middle of the country. This cold front starts extending. We've also got this warm front, which is going to be moving through the Carolinas. That's the area we'll have to watch, the warm front developing. But then tomorrow afternoon, severe weather will break out all along this front and then move across the Carolinas as we go into Saturday. So there's a twofold part of this severe weather outbreak. The first part's going to be the warm front. The second part is going to be the cold front on Saturday. So this could be a Friday and a Saturday thing. If we look at the Cape, now Cape, talk about this all the time. You see the numbers down here? It's in this fancy thing called joules per kilogram squared. Basically, just think as Cape as thunderstorm fuel or gasoline. The higher the number, the more fuel there is for thunderstorms. So you start the scale on the right here down at 0, and you get up to the 3000s, you got mega fuel. So let's put this into motion. This will show you how the Cape really cranks up later today along the warm front and along the cold front. And as we go into tomorrow, look how things start to maximize here over the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. Very potent system that's going to develop and then move to the east. The thing about this time of year, you don't need as much thunderstorm fuel as you do during the warm season because you make up for the lack of instability with mega shear. And what am I talking about when we talk about shear? Well, let's go back to this map. We'll show you some of the model data. Shear is just the wind changing direction with height or direction. So you end up, this is a look at some of the model data. That's the front that we're worried about for Friday afternoon. You see this broken line. This is the NAM4 model starting to crank up. And this is just a future radar. This looks a little ominous to me. These are individual cells embedded in a line, likely rotating, producing damaging winds, and maybe even some strong tornadoes in some of the stronger cells. What does the shear look like in this? Well, let's look at the shear. This is what we call the 0 to 3 kilometer storm relative helicity. They're off the charts up here in Tennessee, Kentucky, and even part of the Carolinas. So you can see why this area right in here could be a little bit of a concern. Let me back this up a little bit. And if you back this up, you see a couple of things. You can actually see how the warm front is creating a lot of storm relative helicity here over the Carolinas, but you also see the cold front back here. So that's why there's a twofold problem with this system. You've got warm front issues and cold front issues. The warm front issues, luckily for us, may happen early in the day, so we're not going to get a lot of heating to produce thunderstorms, though some could still be strong. It's really going to be what sets up along the cold front back to the west. And when you look at the future radar, you can see what's going to be happening here as we go. So that's an area I'm watching particularly carefully back to the west. So you can see the type of situation we could have going on tomorrow. So I'm going to show you something I don't show often, but this is kind of technical, but it tells me a lot of information, and I want to share with people how we look at these things. This is something we call the buff kit. It's basically a way to look at model data in a different way. It's just the soundings in the atmosphere, which gives me wind direction, speed with height, temperature, dew point, and a lot of other parameters. So we start at 7 a.m. today. I'm going to go out into the future here, and we'll go into tonight and then tomorrow morning. And a couple things I noticed first and foremost here. If you look at the winds, they're out of the southeast in the lowest levels, and they start veering around to the southwest and eventually the west with height. The only good thing here is we don't have a lot of rain and a lot of deep convection here to tap into this. But the panel over here, you see all these parameters. These are indices I look at, and you really don't have to know what they mean, but if these red bars start creeping up, that means they're getting high into the severe weather potential. So we'll go into tomorrow afternoon, and notice all the lines start to creep up a little bit, especially by 6 p.m. Friday. They're in the yellow to red range. We've got a lot of things. CAPE is increasing, helicity. We've got LIs, which are negative, are bad. And when I start looking at, what type of veering of the winds are we going to have, I look at something called an hodograph, and you can see this kind of sickle shape, or this line that goes out like this. They're very long. When they get long like this, that means we've got a lot of wind shear. And if you look over on the right side, the wind barbs down here near the ground, and that's what this is, the ground, are coming out of the south. And as you go up to 5,000 feet, they're coming out of the southwest. And when you go to 10,000 feet, they're coming out of the west-southwest. So by the time you get up to 20 and 25,000 feet, in fact, if I go all the way up to 30,000 feet, the winds are coming out of the west. So and it's a typical thunderstorm is going to get to 30,000 feet. So imagine a thunderstorm that is as tall as this graph is here from the ground up. The bottom of the storm is going to have winds coming from the south, and the top of the storm is going to have winds from the west. That's going to make this whole thing spin counterclockwise, and that's how you end up with tornado probabilities, because you get this changing of wind with height. And when I look at the hodographs, especially right in here, I see this from the surface all the way up. I see this big change in wind speed. So that's something we're going to have to watch very carefully as this line approaches, as well as the warm front. That's why the warm front could be problematic as well, because along the warm front, you have a lot of increased helicity. You have winds up here from the northeast, they're from the south here, and along this front, this is where we could have issues. So the thing I'm going to tell you today is be ready. We could have 2 rounds of severe weather. We've dodged many bullets already this late winter and now early spring. We got to keep an eye on this, and I'm hoping that we do not see the kind of tornado outbreak that is possible tomorrow across Kentucky and Tennessee. Those folks here, you guys you have to be ready for the potential for some major severe weather. So let me turn everything back on to the current conditions. You can see it's warm, it's juicy. The dew points, man, the dew points are really creeping up today. We look at the STP, significant tornado parameters, pretty high along that front already. And when I look at the dew points, look at the dew points down here. These are going to be pretty sick dew points for early March in the 60s. So you can see, look at the boundary. We have 49-degree dew point here, 60-degree dew point down in Columbia. So you can already see today, even though we're not going to see severe weather over us, if this warm front comes north, we're going to have issues tomorrow. Of course, I'll be on air today starting at 4, 5, 6, and 11. You can always follow me on Facebook, Twitter, wcnt.com. If you have questions, please feel free to ask me. Some of the information we won't know until things start to evolve. The thing I'm leaving with you today is get ready for severe weather, not only Friday, but maybe again on Saturday.